In 2020, the pandemic began, and no. In 2018, Vine shut down and TikTok was able to take its no. The internet gained prominence in the late 2000s and early aughts, no, fuck. In 2003, a 17-year-old woman gave birth to a boy who, no. In 2001, no. In 1944, no. No, fuck. Almost 50,000 years ago, the first stick figures would be drawn by human hands on a cave wall. Within the next few thousand years, some of the first instruments would be fashioned. Stories, something as old as us, started developing, being passed down. We like to pass the time. I can put it no other way. We like to pass the time, and some of us pass the time making, some of us pass the time consuming, and some of us pass the time with an almost dull form of entertainment. Some of us pass the time destroying, and some of us pass the time adventuring, but we all love to pass the time. Ryan Gosling has become almost synonymous with the lonely young man. For a video that has long been thrown away, its script collecting dust, I actually bought Blade Runner 2047, and what I got from it was that it was a story about the dangers of wanting. Yes, there's a plot and there's the mystery, and yeah, I don't plan on using that here, because the emotional storytelling was about Kay and Joy, and it was about Kay's want to be real. It was about how Kay wanted to try and do something more, be something more, and he tried. Sure, it cost him everything, but he tried. Even if he wound up alone. How tragically noble. How nobly human. How humanly stupid. And yet, some of the biggest enjoyers of Gosling's films are not people who like to see what I just spoke of. They're sad dudes who cannot for the life of them get pussy. Media literacy isn't exactly the strong suit of the layman. I don't consider myself an intellectual, but I think society at large would perceive me as one. There's a lot of people like that, and when they watch Tyler Durden say we are the middle children of history and see the anti-capitalist themes, the average person keeps watching. And the only difference between the two is who chooses to look with their eyes and who chooses to just keep watching. We live in a society that is post too many words to list, truth, irony, information, hope, emotional investment. These are the conditions of France in 1789. In 2027, there will come a summer with no ice in the Arctic. And ultimately, there's just too much for me to sit at this fucking desk and write one consistent line of thought. Aesthetics is the philosophy of art, and it is used shorthand as a categorizer of art to briefly describe what that genre of art might mean. There's dark aesthetics, light aesthetics, futuristic aesthetics according to 2023, and futuristic aesthetics according to 2008. But aesthetics is a big word to chew on, so in the way that humanity often does, we created a shorthand way to refer to that. Something's aesthetics, which is to slap core on the end of some word. Mist core, snow core, cottage core, town core. Some degenerates among you probably thought of soft core, shame on you. Core galore though, the party doesn't stop with noun core as a suffix, because names can also be beat around a bit with this word. Berserk core, Saki core, edge runners core. Language is like an art itself, and the way that English flows and the way that you can make it flow, there's a certain beauty to it. I can use flowery language in an excited manner to convey many feelings, some positive, some less, and I can really just fluff it up like a frat girl's party story that is obviously a lie, or a Build-A-Bear with the air tube still in its ass. Or I can be short and say what I need. Why use lot word when less word work? Better yet, why observe these rules? And this question, that question, why observe the rules, leads us to the most confusingly straightforward descriptor ever. Core. Mind what I said earlier, core is slang for aesthetics, so this is saying something has aesthetics, and aesthetic itself is shorthand for the philosophies of art, so this is art that has its philosophical center within the ideas of the philosophical center of art itself. See where it gets confusing fast? One thing to bear in mind with art and its philosophies is that art is a reflection of the world viewed through the self. This video, a dual work of language and visual arts, gives you the tools to infer a considerable sum about me, my particular disdain for Kentucky Senator and hopefully soon-to-be corpse Mitch McConnell, my belief system being one against the modern institutions, or my enjoyment of history. And I mention this to strengthen my point against neoliberal pansies rushing to the comment section to explain how no ethical consumption under capitalism is actually when you read poorly written books about a wizard in a very racist world and not buying food from Walmart or using a car. Art is fundamentally, at its very core, inseparable from the artist. Things that are made are full of pieces given by the maker, ranging from kids having their parents' traits, even to the stuffy and withdrawn world of academia where everyone tries to sound like the same genre of old man with little variation. And so the way that the world is perceived by those who create influences the way the creation presents what it stands for. In 1920, many came home from scenes of utter desolation to regular society, and this whiplash made them feel like they weren't real, and so the art that was made was art that was meant to make you look and say, this cannot be. In 2020, well, I cannot simplify it so easily. Perhaps most importantly, the internet. The internet may very well be the most important thing to ever happen to the creative mind. Something as important as the advent of colored paint or written language. Many people find themselves on the internet now making a living creating art, something that was not possible to this scale 30 years ago. The internet took art as a hobby of the rich and their spoiled children, and fuels for the fires of movie ticket consumption, and it made it accessible, just as accessible to the average person as a television program. This, however, had the adverse effect of making almost all art the same as TV, fuel for fires that is advertisement consumption. But regardless, all of art now has the potential to sit in everyone's hands. Great. Why is this important? Because it means more perspectives are spoken of. Sure, even though transgender people have always existed, majority of folks in the world did not know that until recently when everyone gained the ability to share perspective through art. The flip side of this comes in though, when formerly the village idiot was a lonesome person, a damn fool left to themselves for being a damn fool, they now have the ability to congregate and God help us all influence society with their frankly dumbass ideals. The coin on which these sides, only briefly discussed, lay on, though, is where it really starts to get weird. Everyone, at any point in time, sharing their experience and their work is already strange, but let's keep in mind that this is business, and business is like a cancer because it only feels the need to grow and grow and grow, regardless of effects. It is not enough for people to share at any point in time. If it is at any point in time, how are you supposed to get more of that green shit we made up? No, everyone needs to share at every point in time. All of the time. Just so long as it's free time, though, because we wouldn't want the average person to stop being such a worker bee. So everyone is seeing every side and every perspective, and sometimes that's just not a good thing, because for all of the great, there's misinformation, and strange moral questions, and anger, and all of this, our reaction to it, is once again shared and documented for your viewing pleasure. Bo Burnham put it very nicely when he wrote a song called Welcome to the Internet, a song about how the internet and its consequences will force its hooks into your life, because there's a million different ways to engage. And then 2020 happened. 2020 was strange because life had to come to a grinding halt. The ethics of the pandemic response are not ones I find reasonably up for debate. People were dying. Staying in to stop people from dying was and is the right thing to do. If that's disagreeable, reflect on yourself. And I say this because to so very many people it was disagreeable. People too selfish to care, people too stupid to realize the propaganda of billionaires fell from their mouths right alongside their drool, and it was shared, contested, fought over on the internet, which would also happen to be the #1 place to make and view art in the world. To make it even stranger, even more bizarre, the internet and its shady overlords want to keep you online. That's how you see ads, that's how they get paid. Emotions are profitable. very, very profitable. Have a few thousand people feeling neutral and you'll make some money, but the big bucks earn a few hundred people really pissed off. So Facebook shows far more right-wing content than left-wing. TikTok pushes rage bait. Twitter monitors left-leaning people far more than right, because if you keep people pissed off, they keep coming to argue. And again, this was all done and still is done on the biggest place in the world to see and create art. All of everything shoved down your throat all of the time, and so help me if you disengage. Confusing art is made in confusing times, and these times aren't simple. The multifaceted factors of declining living standards, the isolation and dread of the pandemic, the constant awareness of the shit that you care about but probably don't need to, and the fact that at any given moment you can create and share and are in fact encouraged to, it all goes into a pot to start the soup we call corecore. The best definition of the aesthetics of corecore would probably be art with the express intention of making the viewer vividly aware of not only how art makes them feel, but how the world at large makes them feel, an awareness of everything they can be aware of. Corecore can range from the fact that to be loved is to be known, or that to be loved is to be changed, or that to be loved is to grieve, but it is actually all three, and it is expressed by taking artworks that have said all of these things and adding music that would inspire general melancholy, and then posting it for people to see. For a brief moment that a person is engaged, they will have to actually engage with the art. It is not like Fight Club where you can just passively enjoy, because corecore overstimulates in such a manner that the viewer must, for a moment, use their brain and actually really think about what is being presented. The popularization of corecore really took off in late 2022, but some of the earliest influences, I believe, stem from Bo Burnham's kind of funny plea for social awareness and reflection on himself as an artist who thought he was past his best works. Inside, made in 2021. That was made while life was still paused, and then life just resumed, and we were left with the aftermath of a pandemic that hadn't ended, but the culture had just run out of patience for. This was the backdrop to 2022, and as the year came to a close, the many video editors and quote readers of TikTok took to the platform to share their feelings. TikTok, being the origin of corecore, has a special kind of irony. A platform with no attention span and no knowledge retention, creating a body of works about the philosophy of artistic philosophy. It almost reads like a joke. TikTok was and is destined to do as it will, and the nature of short-form sub-1-minute platforms is to come fast and forget even faster, just like an incel with amnesia. I would say that the best examples probably came from December of 2022, but by the end of January 2023, corecore was beginning to lose sight of what it was. So, what caused the downfall? The themes are still present. I actually really enjoy the idea of corecore, and I know artists who do as well. Aesthetics is not going anywhere, but this interpretation is gone, in part due to the nature of the platform it was birthed, fleeting and momentary, the embodiment of 15 seconds of fame rather than 15 minutes. Much more dubious, however, is the other half of the pie, corecore's dispersal and failure due to co-opting via misunderstanding. How does that work? Keep watching and you'll find out. That's a linear function of a script, Twinkledick. The corecore tags became less about the comprehension of everything, including loneliness and love and rage and beauty, and more about just one thing, which takes this art away from the definition of corecore, as it is no longer about the aesthetics of art. For an example, many pseudo-corecore posts became almost incel-bait self-pitying circle jerk sessions, full of Ryan Gosling, and not in the intriguing moral quandary way, in the has issues talking to potential romantic partners way. Now that I've tied one bit from the opening into this nice little ribbon, allow me to do it again by saying that media literacy is not the layman's strong suit, and TikTok, home of the vastly average, commonly mediocre, and occasionally brilliant, is no exception, especially in regard to corecore, a hard aesthetic to define and harder to work in. In some ways, corecore is kept alive on its progenitor platform. I'm actually really fond of the web weaving tag for its ability to discuss the human condition, but that's not the whole of what corecore was, just the human side. The idea still remains, though, and the hardest part of new things is doing them the first time. Now that the road for it has been laid, and that the steel for it has been forged, there is the possibility for a work to philosophically dissect the philosophies of art and the reflections of the modern world everywhere all of the time. It just can't and won't be corecore. Jesus. Well, hours of editing and editing and staring at a computer, gallons of coffee later, we did it. We made it to the end of the video. You might be wondering, what the hell is this setup? It's called poverty. This is my kitchen. Yeah, strange times. So, if you want to help with that, or if you just really liked the video and you'd like to see more like it, go ahead, just subscribe. It's completely free. If you hate my guts later, you can always undo it, because that is also completely free. But you just watched me talk for about 15 minutes about art and art influences in history and how that affects a modern art trend. I think that me and you get along enough. I think that this can be a really beneficial deal for the both of us. So just go ahead and do it, you know? Just push the button. Regardless of what you do, like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it, comment to boost me in the algorithm if you so please. Regardless of any of that shit, thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the world to me that I can make these videos and that, you know, people enjoy them. As I grow my little shitty artist mustache and write these silly little scripts. So, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thanks for being here. Also, as always, they're somewhere on screen. Huge thanks to the patrons. They fund this whole little endeavor. I couldn't do this without them. If you are interested in becoming a patron, there's always a link down in the description below that gives you the right to vote on stuff that I do in videos. That gives you some behind the scenes and such. And it does give you exclusive merch, which for now, a big emphasis on for now, is the only place to get another pen merch. So if that interests you, that's there. And if it doesn't, whatever man, I get it. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I have been prattling on for much too long in this outro, so editing this was a behemoth. This is a very visually important video, which is normally not my style of video. But thank you so much for watching. I've said that before, I'll say it again. I could go on for hours with it. Just thank you for watching, thank you for being here. Have a great time, and until next time, I'll see you soon. Memento mori.